We will be graphing a linear equation using the y-intercept and slope. Our first problem, we're going to graph the line whose equation is given as negative 3x minus 2. When we do this problem, the first thing we're going to do is determine the slope, and in this case it's the coefficient of negative 3, and the y-intercept, which is the b value of negative 2. I'm going to write it as the order pair of 0, negative 2. The first thing that we have to graph is the y-intercept. That's the first thing. And since it's an ordered pair, it's easy to graph. That means we're going to start from the origin and we're going to go down to negative 2. Remember, this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. So this is our y-intercept. Now we're going to have to graph the slope. In order to graph the slope, we have to think a little bit here. I'm going to rewrite the slope as our rise over run. So I'm going to rewrite it as a fraction as negative 3 over positive 1. That means we're going to rise negative 3 and we're going to run 1. In regular terms, that means I'm going to be going down 3 and to the right 1. Now, where do I start at? Well, the only point that I have on my graph right now is my y-intercept. So I'm starting at my y-intercept. And from my y-intercept, I'm going to go down 3 and to the right 1. So my slope, as you can see, is down 3 and to the right 1 unit. So my rise over run. Now I have 2 points. I can connect the dots with a line. Try and draw it as straight as possible. I like to put arrows at the end to signify that it's going on forever. So that's the graph of our first line. Make sure you graph the y-intercept first and then start at the y-intercept and graph the slope. Our next problem is y equals 3/5 x plus 1. So in this problem, our slope, which is our m value, is going to be 3/5. And our y-intercept is our b value, which is a positive 1. Or we can write it as the order pair 0 and 1. In order to graph, remember we have to start at the y-intercept. That's the first thing that we have to graph. Our y-intercept is 0, 1. So on my graph, I go to the left 0 and up 1, and I make a nice bold point. So that's our y-intercept. Crosses the y-axis at 0, 1. Then according to my slope here, our slope is 3/5. So again, remember this is rise over run. And it's nice when it's a fraction because that means it tells us the directions directly. That means the 3, since it's positive, we're going up 3, and since it's a positive 5, we're going to go to the right 5. I always like to keep the denominator positive because we're always then going to go to the right. So these tell us the directions starting at our y-intercept. So let's start at our y-intercept here, and that means we're going to go up 3 units, 1, 2, 3. So that's our rise, and then we're going to go to the right 5 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We plot a point there, and that's 5 units. Now we can draw a graph or a line through those 2 points. Make sure you put the arrows on to make it look nice and pretty. And there we go. So we have our 2 points. Again, remember we first do the y-intercept. And then second, we use our slope to graph our second point.